amplified pattern recognition.
Why does the universe exist? We're about 5 Einsteins away from the answer.
Welcome to Think Tank. This is a podcast where in each episode we pick a topic and we discuss it with industry professionals and thought leaders in that industry. I'm Josh Gonzalez.
And I'm Braden Drew. And we're the hosts of Think Tank. This is episode 4, where we're talking to young entrepreneurs in the virtual reality industry to understand what it's like to lead a startup in a space that's so new and unknown. In this episode, at River Ventures in San Francisco, California, we talked to Sofia Dominguez, a young entrepreneur in residence and a founder of All Things VR.
And we also have Josh Maldonado, who is the founder and CEO of Discover Labs, which is a virtual reality company that aims to bring virtual field trips into the classroom. Think of it like Magic School Bus in real life. And in this conversation with them, we'll be bringing up ideas, philosophies, processes, among other things, and just try to get different perspectives on this topic. This episode was recorded in San Francisco, California, but the intro was recorded back home in Toronto in our studios. Let's get right into this. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit what you do here and where you fit into the VR landscape?
Well, I am a founder of a virtual reality education startup called Discover Labs, which Rothenberg Ventures invested in as a part of their River One Accelerator program. And I'm just kind of back for a visit. I like to come back out to California, make sure we maintain those good relationships with Rothenberg Ventures and other companies in the space, other partners in the space. So I like to work out of here whenever I'm here because it's a great vibe. A lot of VR going on, which is really cool.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm the founder of All Things VR, a virtual reality newsletter that highlights the week's top news, innovators, and content. I am also working on discovery for mobile virtual reality, and I'm also the entrepreneur in residence at Rothenberg Ventures, which is where I met Josh.
Awesome. That's cool, because Josh and I have known each other for a while now. Ryerson,
right.
In Toronto, yeah.
Went to school together.
It's cool. It's kind of how we maintain this relationship through VR. At the beginning.
Yeah.
Through Vessels. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So that's how it all got started for me. Is like we did a thesis project, just kind of highlighting the benefits of educational narratives in virtual reality. You know, it was just a project. You remember that? That's how we started, and you know, we saw kind of early on the potential for educating people in VR and creating educational experiences in virtual reality, and we sort of structured that as a startup, even though at the time, like, the idea of a VR startup was kind of rare, aside from like Oculus and the people who were actually creating the hardware. And we just kind of kept at it and found our way into Rothenberg, and here we are.
Yeah, so it's just doing the educational content.
Yeah,
what are you guys doing now?
Content.
What's the biggest one?
Yeah, we're building what we're calling the learning management system for virtual reality. So we think that there's going to be a huge use case for training and learning practical things in virtual reality. And what we want is for devices to be able to be networked to a portal so that teachers and educators can provide specific feedback for the performance in that specific assessment. So if you think about nursing, for example, you need a place where there's going to be supplemental content. Not everything's going to happen inside of the virtual world. So you have a unique student identifier that's going to be able to take you to a place within the portal where you have your additional content, and when you do the module in your headset, that information is relayed to the server where the teacher can provide monitoring and assessment.
It seems like the Magic School Bus, just like in real life now, pretty much.
Oh yeah, that's a big part. That was a big inspiration for us, right? If you look at it from the highest level point, it's like the ability to take field trips wherever you want and build emotional connections through experiences, right? Through like that kind of Magic School Bus experience.
And I think that's what a lot of the school systems nowadays are missing. It seems to become less hands-on as it like keeps going. And I don't know, when I went through like my whole elementary school and high school, like field trips just didn't happen for funding and stuff like that. So this education, you don't need to raise a lot of money to go to those places and stuff. It'll just be in VR.
Yeah. I see like VR as a tool to democratize practical education. If you think about experiential education, there's a lot of logistics involved, a lot of costs, a lot of geographical and administrative barriers. And we think that with VR, you can deliver curated learning experiences at the click of a button. So that's what we're all about, and that's why I'm here.
Maybe not even a click. Maybe a gaze.
Maybe
at a gaze. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sophia and I met. We like connected and bonded over the fact that we're both entrepreneur. We were both entrepreneur. Well, you're still an entrepreneur in residence.
Nice. What does that mean exactly here at Rothenberg?
I think, well, for both Josh and I meant different things. I don't think there's exactly any sort of script for what an EIR is.
Cool person in the office.
For me, I was working on all things VR. I was building VR stuff just by myself in New York. And Dylan, the head of investments, found me and was like, hey, you can work on your stuff and just help us out with the River. River is a 3-month program that Josh went through, and this past River Accelerator, we went, anyways, 14 companies went through, ended up being 11 that graduated, and I got to work side by side all of them, so I became their point person. If they needed help with anything, then they could come to me, and either I'd help them figure it out or point them to the right person on the team to figure it out. And then at the same time, I'm also pretty involved in the investment team, so I get to have input on the deals that they're making. And then my favorite part is that I get time to work on my own stuff, and that's been really exciting.
That's cool. What have you been working on lately?
Yeah, so since I founded All Things VR, I've just wanted to bridge the gap between people or the knowledge between people who wanted to get into virtual reality and people who are in virtual reality. And what I found was that this section of my newsletter, which I have content, people were clicking on it a lot. And because I realized that it's very hard to discover what good virtual reality content is out there. So I was like, all right, there should be just some easy way to consume a lot of content. So I've been working in this space now for a couple months and building a product that helps you discover virtual reality content, because right now it's just too complicated.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I guess right now is the Oculus Share store.
Right.
And then I guess they're changing that up, aren't they? They're making 2 different stores. There's like the actual store and then Oculus Concepts, I think, something like that.
I think it's within the store. I think Oculus Concepts are just a different type of experience. So
like
it's
free
like
stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like with people trying stuff out. It's not just like a $10 game or something more serious.
Right, but I wonder if I don't know if they're going to wipe out Oculus Share and just leave Oculus Concepts as a part of the store where you can continue to share like these unfinished experience or experimental experiences.
That's cool to get feedback at least.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah,
And the whole open content and forum, get multiple viewers and consumers to all share their ideas. I think it's a better way for VR especially to get the whole cohesive immersion.
Yeah,
and
well, I mean,
just
that's
get
what's
it
happening
right.
here, right? It's kind of little bits of everything, everyone coming together, right, for this collaboration. Have you found a lot of collaboration around here?
Oh, all the time. If you have a problem, you're thinking about something, you can just go up to anybody and they can help you. It's been really, really inspiring to see. Rothenberg is going to start focusing a little less on virtual reality and focus more on other frontier tech spaces. So this is like AR, robotics, drones. So their goal for next River is to have not just VR and AR, but really focus on having other frontier tech companies in there.
And that's really cool because if you think about it, a lot of these things overlap each other. Like there's a lot of companies in here that came in as like wearable technology companies or AI companies, part of the River 2 companies, and they're tying a lot of what they're doing back into VR in some form or another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. I mean, obviously there's going to be space for it in the future. Like there's
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you guys see it like being part of like the internet, or is it going to be its own standalone system, or do you think it's just going to be integrated with what we're already doing now?
I think it's part of the internet. Like last week or 2 weeks ago, Samsung Gear launched a browser inside the Gear, which is amazing, and it just goes to show you that just because you're in virtual reality doesn't mean that you won't be connected somewhere else. And I think, there'll be experiences just as like when you enter into a game on your phone or you enter into an app on your phone. But hopefully in virtual reality it's a little bit more seamless because you don't want to have to like exit. Like the loading time just kills me every time.
Yeah, you don't have to take it off, take out the phone, scroll. You want to do it
Select.
all with it.
Yeah. And everything to pretty load quickly. Like the most frustrating thing I think for me about Samsung Gear right now is if I download something, then I have to install it, and then I'm waiting for it, and I can't take off the headset. I have to put it on top of my head because otherwise it just disconnects. I'm sure they're working on it, but
yeah, no, I totally get that. I think we've expressed this frustration before. Is like you put some sort of app, and it takes a really long time to load, and it also it's kind of inconvenient right now. The way that you boot up an app and go from experience to experience is not that seamless.
Yeah, and you're trying to make the seamless experience yourself with your content.
Yeah, that was part of what we're trying to do with the learning management system is interoperability between modules. So I think that's going to be really important. For example, with a nursing module set that we're working with, to be able to go from one to the other and to pick up different concepts from each one. But I also think that the major players like Oculus and Steam are going to be working on that.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like a big problem to be solved.
So you guys have been around here and seen a bunch of different startups and working in VR. Would you say majority of them are working in like an entertainment field, or they're a lot more just like you, Josh, or maybe trying to do education and more different aspects in terms of VR content and creation?
I think River 2 was a lot more, I guess, not business applications per se, but more focused on not just being just for consumers. I think River 1 was just a little bit more consumer.
Yeah, there was a lot of content creation startups in the first one. So you had guys like Reload Studios, who, you know, are probably one of the better known ones. And then guys like Interspace VR, whose stuff comes preloaded on
It was so dope.
on the Gear.
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
Their stuff is great too.
Yeah, their stuff is awesome.
Yeah, their stuff is awesome. Yeah, so definitely River 1 seemed to have more of like a D2C focus, but back to your question, I think a lot of the startups in the space, or a lot of the funding is going towards entertainment. Like there's definitely seems to be less in other spaces.
Yeah. I mean, just in part, no one's going to buy it if there's not good content.
Yeah, exactly. It's all
So
about
right
the
now they
content.
need to get good content in there, and then they can expand outward of other things. I think that there will be some really killer use cases for virtual reality that are not entertainment pretty soon, just because it'll compel other people who are not necessarily interested in entertainment to purchase this. I don't see like a workspace happening in the next year.
No,
I think
not
we're kind of far away from that, but it's cool that there's a company working on it, and I'm sure that there are other people who haven't gotten funding who are also hacking away at that.
Totally, just doing completely new experiences that
Yeah.
no one would even think of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, what's different that you can actually do in VR that you couldn't just make on a mobile application or just a web app or something?
Well, you're interacting with 360-degree environments, right? So the thought process is a lot different, because suddenly you have a full range of motion when you're in the device. And how do you make that experience compelling? How do you utilize all of that space and really focus the user on what you want them to do? I read this good post. I forget who wrote it, but it was someone who works at Google's VR research lab, and what she was saying was that no matter what, the person making stories in virtual reality, and this could be applied to products, always has to remember that in as much as you want the user to do something, like they can do whatever they want, right? So at the end of the day, like always keep that in mind, and always take yourself out of the situation and focus on the user and all the different things that they can do and they can experience in VR, which doesn't exist on a mobile phone, doesn't exist on a 2D screen, because you have the director or the product maker has complete control.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, you're right. The thing that really makes it different is the freedom of motion and the freedom of choice. I guess now you can go into different directions, especially with like stuff like film.
Yeah, and that's like to go back to that article. That's a really great article. The one.
There's Jessica Brillhart.
Yeah,
something.
she's like the director of like the camera that they're working on. The jump
yeah.
camera.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so they're like doing experimental narratives in the jump camera. And yeah, what she was saying is like we're so used to forcing people to look in a certain direction, and a lot of people in 360 who are doing 360 movies are doing that. Like they're trying to force a frame or trying to guide your gaze. And like her perspective on it, and I'm sure that there's varying perspectives on this, is that you should think 360. Like the story should make sense regardless of what direction that you look at, and you shouldn't be forcing someone or even trying to guide someone into a particular direction, which is opposed to what some other people have said before, which is you should sort of find some sort of mechanism in VR to guide the viewer's gaze. But it's tough, and it's also context specific, right? It depends on what you're trying to make.
Yeah, I guess it's a lot different for like film, like 360-degree filming than CG stuff like you're mostly doing right now, because they do have the freedom to actually walk around, do whatever they want, like a video game.
Yeah, so real-time rendering is a whole different ballgame for the most part.
So how do you make sure that people are learning stuff when they come out of that experience?
It depends on the experience. Like for us, I don't think the same thing would apply. Like you can't, if you're doing a nursing simulation, and for example, you're learning about patient acuity, you need to be looking at the patient's face and their sort of their body language is part of what we're doing. Or for situational awareness, you have to look in certain directions. So it's very important for us. For us, the 360 the 360 gives us the ability to place different things in different positions where you need to look. So we do have to guide the viewer's gaze. But again, different use case
Right, but they have the option to do multiple things in the 360
They
environment.
do, yeah. No, that's still
It's
the
an
truth.
interesting conversation because from a writer standpoint, it's very hard to write a plot and in-depth characters in a 360 environment because it's hard to focus in on dialogue, especially. Like when we were talking about in VR cinema in our last episode, we didn't know if an entire film could be shot successfully in 360. We have all 360 degrees telling the story all at the same time. I think that's very difficult, and no one's done that good of a job yet. So I feel like more like certain shots within a film is where it's going to move towards for now, because I think it's too hard to tell the entire story, at least for a full-length feature film in all 360.
Yeah.
Also, that file size would be enormous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like
So
literal.
even stuff that we're doing with Ellie, the guy. Have you seen IMU or heard of IMU?
No.
Yeah, so he's a Toronto filmmaker. So he did something a little bit different. So he did some 360 work, but he did something really interesting where he put 2 GoPros like on top of the actor's eyes and put binaural microphones on their ears.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to picture like
Right.
how
That looks. Yeah.
What?
So it's like a helmet. I can show you a picture after.
Okay.
So like they literally put on a helmet and there's 2 GoPros that go right over their eyes and they put these earbuds in that have microphones. You hear and see exactly what they see. Then he put the Oculus DK1 accelerometer on the back of the helmet so it reads where they're moving in space. So when you're watching the film, you just see like a window into their eyes, and as they're looking around, you see exactly what they're seeing. So it's a way to kind of direct the viewer rather than
So
get the full
cool.
360. Yeah.
Yeah, I think someone's going to do something really awesome and innovative, and then other people will just start creating on top of that.
Yeah.
I also spent this weekend or like 3 hours watching really old 90s music videos. I'm not exactly sure how I got there, but it happened. And just looking at it, I just kept thinking back to where we are right now in virtual reality, because right now when you watch a music video or you watch any sort of video, you're just like, whoa, this is amazing. And you critique like the small bits and pieces of it. But in the 90s, oh my gosh, they were so bad. Like,
Yeah.
they were so bad. The visuals were terrible. Like, just everything about it. The way they were recorded was bad. The sound was bad. And so it gave me hope for VR, where it's like, all right, there's a lot of people working on this right now. And this is only 360 content, but a lot of people will be making different types of content and innovate on top of that and make it better and better. Gave me hope.
Most likely, someone's going to figure it out within the next 5 years, and yeah, it's just going to start getting mimicked.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing it. Have you guys tried the Google Cardboard Labs app? Like, that's pretty good user experience. I
Yeah.
mean, like, rudimentary, but
Yeah, I like things like that, where it's like, hey, here are some building blocks and like make stuff on top of it.
Right.
And I think that there's a few apps that I really like and have taken really good control of just like those design principles. One of them actually was Bizarre from Templegate Games. It's this VR game I'm addicted to. And your gaze, you control everything by where you're looking, and there's this little eye. And so based on when you start looking at something to when you start moving forward, it'll tell you like how full the eye gets. And it's like those simple things that just make the experience so nice. And you're moving the entire experience, but it's not too fast. I've never felt nauseous. Versus other times when I get in an app or a different experience, it's like they move me way too quickly and I just feel sick. Yeah. And so I think that those things, like anytime somebody feels sick, it's just like, don't do that. And really voicing that in the community and just telling people don't repeat that. And then hopefully the things that stay are the ones that make people feel good. And
Yeah, I think being able to stay in the app for a really long time right now is a huge factor. And Sophia played that game for like 4 hours straight.
what, straight?
not straight, but in a weekend and a day.
Yeah, in the span of a day. Maybe even more than 4 hours.
You're right, because a lot of the experiences now are pretty short. There's nothing too long.
Yeah. Well, when you can't beat a game, like anything is long.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those first couple of levels were difficult. But I agree. Anything that you can stay in, like right now, the only input on the Gear VR is like tapping the side of your head. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see me or not, but it's just like poking the side of your temple, and your arm gets tired if you're going to be playing like a 4-hour game. Mm-hmm. So luckily in a game like Bizarre, the game mechanic is like look in a particular direction and wait, and then something will happen. You'll move forward. And it's the same with Land's End is another game with a cool mechanic like that, where you look in the direction you want to move, you wait for a little timer, and then it reads that you want to go in that direction.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good in-between, since Gear VR doesn't, I mean, you have a gamepad, but most times you're carrying around your Gear VR, you don't have the gamepad. And then compared to like Oculus and Vive, which you really need controllers, just because the experience is way more immersive.
Yeah, we design all our locomotion for like some of the Discover stuff we're doing for the gear. That take into account that you probably won't have the gamepad.
It's just whatever it ships with, just easy that everyone could just bring around.
Yeah, whatever's most accessible. I think for now, I think a lot of the people that are going to be the great developers of the future are just really making experimental, short experiences.
Did you see? So this weekend, one of the River One companies, SolarX, released a video,
right.
Or Tomas. I don't know
it was
how to.
Tomas, yeah.
Fruxius.
Fruxius is his.
Fruxius is
right.
his
His
dev name.
Yeah.
And he released a video like, "Hey guys, I'm experimenting with this UI technique." Or
These are the
UX
guys who developed
technique.
Sightline, by the way.
I was going to say, I love Sightline.
Yeah,
that was like one of the
Sightline.
first things I've tried with the DK2, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah, no,
I still
they're-
think that's like the best experience I've had in
Yeah,
VR.
so that is a River One company, and those guys are geniuses.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
so dope.
Yeah, if you have a DK2, honestly, just go download it. Sightline the chair, amazing.
Yeah. So he put up a video online. I think he posted it on Reddit. Like, hey, I'm just trying out this experience, and I forget what he calls it. It was something like holodeck or like hollow.
It was like a sphere. That's
I don't
like
know.
a
Holosphere.
Yeah.
And
something
he
like
just
that.
puts his hand up, and then he locks it in the world, and like the world gets all grids, and then he can move forward or he can like move under the world, and it's just with his hands using a leap motion.
Oh, yeah, he does a lot of leap motion stuff. Right?
Yeah, so, but at the same time, the Oculus cameras it's not leap motion, but it captures your body movement. So if it works on leap motion, I'm sure that they can figure something out to get it working on Oculus. With the Vive, it's Lighthouse, like it's probably some other sort of hacking around, but it's all possible. They're all cameras and they can all capture.
Definitely. I guess it's just hard. You kind of have to focus in on one platform and then figure
Yeah.
out how that will work with other mechanics,
Yep.
right?
Well, yeah, right now he posted the video because he's like, hey, does any devs want to try this? Like, let me know how this feels. Like, I think this feels good, but I'm not sure. I'm only one person, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool, awesome, too.
You need that feedback from other people.
Yeah.
I think that's a good system. That's what, like, just we were talking about collaboration a little bit earlier. Like, that's my favorite thing about River is you don't, like, when we were back in Toronto, we don't even know if it's a collaborative ecosystem or not because
Not
there's
really.
so few VR startups and they're not concentrated in one area. And in River, like, that's one of the coolest things about it is you can just kind of put something out and get immediate developer feedback. So it's a good thing that he's doing that, and I think more people should do that, should put more content out there and try to see what works and doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree.
Would you guys, being in such a concentrated area and working on all similar projects, do you think there's a lot of common issues that keep arising in a multiple, like, is it really the user experience that is limited because you only have the vision and you don't really have the movement mechanics there, and some people are working in Unity and other people are working in their own stuff? Do you think that they're all finding similar problems with like how to deliver that experience, or is it all like some people have completely different problems and are finding solutions to problems that other people have, and the collaboration is just moving forward to an overall good goal?
I feel like both. I know, for example, the stuff I'm building is not in Unity, but people who are working in Unity all have the same problems. And so they'll go to each other like, hey, I know you're building experience in Unity. How did you solve this problem? What did you do? And sometimes it's like, yep, I'm experiencing the same exact problem. There's nothing you can do. If I ping them like a million times, just keep annoying them. So hopefully they fix it. But other times it's like, oh yeah, I solved it this way. And so that's when that collaboration happens. And it's really helpful to have that around. And also, I mean, once River companies leave, that doesn't mean that they can't contact any of the people that they had 3 months with.
I bug people all the time over email. Yeah. I think if we're talking about real-time rendering, for sure, like there's rapid acceleration in for both Unity and Unreal, the major engines that are doing VR. You know, these guys are holding workshops. They're constantly, getting feedback from the community. There's forums online that you can go to. But yeah, I think definitely overall it's moving along pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's definitely really important.
That's good to take in. And just I want to plug your brain a bit about some of the health concerns that you think might arise in the future about using a VR experience, because I find most people are creating content now. Like we said, it's shorter, sweet, simple experiences because, like you were saying, you can get nauseous. It is direct light straight into your eyes. There's been a couple studies done where as you see the depth, it's actually better for your eyes than looking at a phone because the depth is there and it's more natural and your lenses aren't focusing as hard. So I don't know. Me personally, in my opinion, I think there's got to be something wrong with it because there's stuff wrong with our cell phones and our TV and all our technology. So I think that'll arise later.
I think it's a little bit different though, because the televisions, like, there's not really that many problems now. It was actually the electromagnetic waves that were causing the problems. I don't think we get that with the new displays. I'm not really sure though.
LED.
So, yeah, something I'd like to look into.
I don't know, maybe a little off topic, but there's that one startup that cures some sort of eye disease.
Lazy eye, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it cures some sort of lazy eye with VR, which is also kind of crazy. There's a couple experiments being
What
done.
is it called? Like Vision VR or something?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Something to that degree. Yeah, but they're using virtual reality to help train your eyes to get over lazy eye. And I think the founder cured it himself because he had lazy eye, which is pretty cool. So he started when he got a DK1, just started developing stuff. He was like, oh, wait, I can do this for my eyes because my eyes are looking places. And then now there's a company over.
So if anything, VR is curing
things. Yeah.
VR.
Yeah, I guess we won't really know. There's no physiological studies. We will know eventually. Like, something will happen.
There's a warning sign on like the DK1 and DK2s and the Gear
And
VR
Gear
as
VR,
well.
yeah.
So like if you're under 13, you can't use. I remember that was
That's
like
weird though. Okay, because are you targeting children for?
Well, we're not. We're
no.
not. I mean,
It's gonna be over
I would
13,
like to.
yeah.
Like, I think VR for kids is going to be great. And Google Cardboard, there are no immediate concerns with what Google Cardboard, with any like health concerns for Google Cardboard. You're not supposed to be in there for a long time technically, 'cause, like you said, I'm not too familiar with the space and what the health concerns are. But there's got to be something if Oculus is putting an age limit. But yeah, most of our stuff, especially our B2B stuff, will be post 13.
I think I heard the only reason why it's 13 over is because the kids, their eyes are too close to each other. So it's
the
meant
IPD.
for, the IPD, exactly. It's meant for like older people with like bigger heads. I think that's the only reason. But I'm sure there
the
needs to be
Mattel
study.
viewer is like designed for kids 7 and up, isn't it?
Right, yeah, the
Yeah.
Mattel viewer.
And that works with a phone too.
Oh, I got so nauseous when I tried it. I think because the lenses are actually worse.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened, but that was the most sick I've ever gotten in virtual reality.
I think they've made some progress since we last tried. So Sophia and I tried the Mattel viewer when we first came out, and Sophia had some strong opinions about it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they're gonna move forward. Like I think kids VR is a huge market. We were at a demo day a while ago, where there was a talk by a company called Greenlight, and they're like a VR marketing firm. And they were talking about the untapped market in Generation Z. So, like, apparently they're going to be the ones who are really going to want to consume VR
sure.
like crazy.
Yeah, it's so compelling. How could they not? Like,
Well, it
Yeah.
also makes sense just from a technological like maturement perspective. So these Generation Z, I mean, I'm millennial, but I'm practically Generation Z, and so is Josh, and
So
so
are
are
all
you
of us.
guys.
yeah, we're all,
Yeah, like we grew up with phones. I don't remember a time in my life where I didn't have the internet, and there probably was before I was 4, and like not that much internet, but at the same time I didn't really need it. And I've always just been online, and I had my sidekick when I was like 9 or 10,
My sidekick.
and was on AIM all the time. And so these other kids like probably are born and get an iPhone into
Facebook
their hands.
account,
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. And so like phones at this point, they're better, but it's not anything like transcendental, and that's what virtual reality is. It's just the next evolution of experiential technology.
yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely some sort of like mixed reality for sure.
For sure. We're probably going to be like the old ones, like being like, oh, these crazy kids these days always putting headsets on their faces.
I don't think.
Yeah.
No, I think we're
Yeah, we're definitely more open-minded.
Yeah,
Or like, you know, when you guys were in class and they had the projection screens, they had a little projector.
Yeah.
And like they did not know how to use it, or they had a television, like the teacher just did not know how to use it. Like, oh come on, you just press what button, you turn it
Oh,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
We're gonna be at that age where like, what the hell, how's this work? No sir, you just turn on this button here and then just like let it blow up in your face. Like, what? Why would I ever do this?
But on that note, like there is a lot of negative back. I feel like, and I love it. I love that we're in this bubble of like VR positivity and optimism. But there's definitely like a huge group of people, like you said right now. There's this in the survey that came out. 30% of people are not at all interested in VR or
I
something
think it's
like that.
fake. There's no way.
I
I don't
mean-
know.
And
Who
they're probably
knows?
not interested in buying one, right?
Right.
Like, if I didn't work in virtual reality, I wouldn't buy a $1,000 computer right now. I actually really need to upgrade my Mac, but I can't even upgrade my Mac because I'm about to spend basically $2,000 on like cool setup so I can do virtual reality. So I think that's what
That's more for developing stuff anyways.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But still, no, to experience any of the high-end virtual
Yeah.
reality devices, you need a high-end computer. Yeah, Oculus dropped the price to $1,000, but still, if you want to maximize for best performance, you're probably going to end up spending $1,200.
Yeah, let alone like the HTC Vive, right? You need like a mammoth computer for that.
Yeah.
Tony had to get a T key, so like a super computer to like run it the best he possibly could. But I don't know, like I think it's important to be aware of like other people's opinions as well. I remember taking a meeting with like a VC in Palo Alto, and like he knew we were a VR education company, and he's like, I just want to tell you straight up, I don't believe in VR at all. I think it's a fad. I'm like,
You're
"Oh."
like, well, thanks for taking the meeting.
Yeah, I don't know. I just can't see it just being a fad. I don't see it just being a fad. It really
No,
is.
I think it's past that point.
Some people
It's
compare
novel.
it to 3D TV, but
No.
I think that's the dumbest
No.
comparison ever. That's the most foolish comparison. It's completely
Also, it's
different.
their fault for not making anything as compelling as Avatar in 3D.
Yeah. I don't know. I saw Mad Max. It was pretty good. It depends. I don't know. I don't really think it adds to the experience.
Yeah, it's like it's a feature. It's on a platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And no one ever like I never remember like a bunch of people trying 3D TV and being like, "Whoa, this is great." You know, you never saw YouTube videos,
Well, I mean-
reaction YouTube videos of that really.
No, never.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you can just play those 3D movies in the Oculus Cinema anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So VR covers it all, man.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's what they said is like the last platform, because you can just do every other platform inside virtual reality.
I think that I love that quote.
Yeah.
Going back to health real quick. So there's this idea that virtual reality can cure PTSD and other just like experiences that really freaked you out. But in that fact that it can do that, it can also cause PTSD. And there was a whole discussion around this like a couple weeks ago. And I thought it was really interesting where it's because of the way that virtual reality is experienced, it's experienced in 360-degree environments, which is more like real life. So when you think back to your experience in virtual reality, it's a much different memory than what you're used to. Like I was on my phone and this happened, or I was watching my computer, I was watching a movie and then this happened. It's like I was in VR and looking all around, and it's really difficult to put into words. And so the better the experiences get, the more real-like they're going to become, and thus you might not be able to remember if it was real or not.
Yeah.
And so that's what's so scary, where it's like, in as much as it can do good, it can also do bad. And what if you're in VR and you get hacked, or anything
Right.
can happen. And so I think people are really thinking about that. We're obviously not there yet, but it's just something to be well aware of as the industry gets better and better.
Yeah, and have those foundations laid down now. But I compare it to like a lucid dream, or like a half-remembered dream at this point. But then it's going to get even more real, and it's going to go past that point where it's pretty real, and you're not going to really know. Have you guys had that anxiety before? Where you're like, shit, I don't know if I'm in virtual reality or not. I guess it's not there yet.
Not in this state of mind, but I can
No.
definitely see it going there, and that's like the real
Right. Yeah.
that's the real crazy part. Is
A lot of people
like,
can handle it.
Is people look at like VR right now, and some people, you know, at the very rare end of people will be like, wow, this is incredible, but it's like I don't know, like the first time we saw the first version of the cell phone, right? It was a giant brick. And the latest iteration of that is literally like a tiny little slit that we've put in our pockets. Like when you look at VR, I think a lot of VR entrepreneurs are seeing the opportunity in what VR can become, and what VR can become is almost scary. Like if you think about, you know, graphic quality improving and light field cameras and all these things, like the overarching goal of the VR community to reach this idea of presence, that you really feel like you're there.
Is to forget that you're in virtual reality.
Exactly. And if you really think about that, man, if you could really put on this device that could make you forget where you are, that's nuts.
It could be really cool.
I mean, obviously not in the way that we wanted to, but for example, I was stressed out and I was just like, I need to go into virtual reality. Like, I need to just get away right now. And so I just strapped on the headset and played a game, and just like, I don't know, I was in there, let's say 20 minutes, and then took it off, and I was like, all right, I feel so much better now.
It's
Like,
like
I was just
meditation.
somewhere else.
Yeah, a lot of people are using VR for therapy in that way too. Like, there's a couple meditation apps out there, even on the Gear VR store, that you can play. And it doesn't have to be. You could just, like, what was it, Bazaar that you were in?
Yep.
Yeah. And that leads to a rise for people who have disabilities and maybe can't get out and see those certain scenarios and stuff.
There was
so.
a video that came, I think, last week, where kids in a hospital, I forget what hospital it was, and these kids who've been in the hospital for who knows how many years, and they're experiencing the DK2 for the first time, and they're just like freaking out and so happy, and it's their first chance that they get to leave and experience something else, something different, and that was very heartwarming to see.
Yeah, so kids who can't leave hospitals, or the elderly who like have trouble with physical locomotion, this is pretty an opportunity for them to.
It's a game changer.
Yeah,
And just regular people who have maybe phobias or fear of heights and stuff like that. You're not actually in. Yeah. Like you're not on the top of a building at all. You're just looking at it in a virtual space.
So one of my favorite VR startups is Sias, and they come out of Spain. They were part of the River One class, and that's what they do is they cure phobias using virtual reality. And you hear all these stories about people who have cured their phobias by going into VR and just facing them. So that's really cool.
Yeah, you can't do that with any other medium. There's no other way. The only other medium is reality, and just doing the only way to do it is just face it. But now there's, I guess with virtual reality, you can't hurt you. Like it can't physically hurt you as far as we're concerned right now.
No,
at this point.
Yeah, you're not going to go up to you're not going to go look to the top of the CN Tower and look over. Well, you can do that actually. Yeah. You can do that. But you're not going to go off the dangerous ledge of a cliff or something and look over if you're deathly afraid of heights, right? Whereas in VR, you can do that no problem. Yeah. You won't fall off, but it'll help you. Like Tipitat is a good friend of ours in the VR community. That's how he discovered the potential of VR and got into VR. Was he cured himself of his own fear of heights.
No way.
Yeah, so he was he developed this Matrix app, and as Neo you have to jump over a set of buildings, and as you jump over you look down, and he apparently scared.
That's so cool.
Scared himself. And
well, speaking of the Matrix, I don't know, is that is that the end goal really for virtual reality? I don't know. Well, is it everyone will be plugged into virtual reality? Is that the hope? Is that the dream of virtual reality?
No. So my belief on this is I don't actually think everyone in the next couple of years will get a headset. I don't think that VR is like a phone where everyone's going to have one. I think that everyone will have augmented reality glasses or lenses that have virtual reality aspects to them. Because most times you want to experience real life and you're interacting with people, and you want to have an augmented reality where technology, I could just look up and see my email or just be more productive in that way. But there are just some things that make more sense in virtual reality. And so I think that that's when VR is huge, when there's an AR device that also has a virtual reality aspect to that.
Right.
Mixed reality.
That's
glasses.
What we were talking about. It's going to converge at a really good mixed reality device, I assume, right? But you're right. I don't know how sure we can be of its ubiquity. But there are definitely great use cases for VR that need to be addressed immediately, like education, say, for example.
It's true.
I think that needs to be addressed B2B absolutely immediately, and the benefits are so great that it needs to exist, that there needs to be a system built around virtual reality education. But is it going to be something that people use every day on their way to work? I don't know. I'm not going to say yes or no, but I'm not super I don't really see that happening personally.
Who's to say that you're not going to also do augmented reality applications with Discover Labs?
And that's the other thing. If you look at the production process for AR and VR, at least in our space, you're using a lot of the same rendering engines with an AR API. So you will probably overlap into that.
Definitely.
At some point.
Yeah, why not? As long as it works. And
if anything, VR will definitely help with simulations and making those a lot better, and you don't need a giant pod to run all schematics and stuff like that. It'll just be software that you can upload in an app or a game, and there's some education there.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of education there.
Have you guys read Ready Player One? Is that recommended reading?
That's honestly, it's not recommended, it's required.
It's required reading.
Required reading. You can't get into VR if you haven't read it.
It's true. It's an excellent book. I can't wait to see what the movie is going to be.
It's an amazing book. It's so funny. Really that book is reminds me of how tightly knit the VR community is here. Everybody reads Player One. They give it away at Oculus Connect.
And with a signed copy from Ernest Klein.
Yeah, signed by the author. It's going to be awesome.
I just read this book recently. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's called The Eye of Minds. It's the same guy that wrote the Maze Runner books. So it's a tween kind of book, but it's a full dive VR where you go into a coffin, they call it. So the kids would slip into a coffin, and then these wires would go through their entire body, and they'd be fully immersed. So it's not a headset. It's beyond that, where it's they call it the sleep. So they're in a coffin in the sleep and the virtual reality in this huge world, and they can't tell the difference between real life and VR, and it's really cool. And then that's when like the hacker comes in and starts messing with people and putting them into like K-holes and like the deepest, darkest dreams for like eternity, it feels like. So like exactly what you're talking about earlier, like those are some things we should address with like hackers and stuff. It's messed up book and it's for kids. It's so weird.
Yeah, I think that's more on the fantasy side. I don't know how soon we'll be able to like plug our consciousness into like this giant server or something.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
I think definitely with VR, a huge limitation is just the sheer size of the data and like the equipment itself. It's going to be more of a niche, in my opinion. It's going to be like I'm not going to go and buy like a little Google Cardboard thing to get like a cheap version of VR. If I want to be someone to experience virtual reality, hopefully going to have a friend who owns one of the actual
Back
gear.
in the PS2 days, that one friend on the block.
That's usually what happens. No one was like, "Oh, I have a GameCube. It's just as good." It's not the same.
I don't know, like PlayStation VR is gonna be pretty cool. I think 'cause a lot of people have a
lot
PS4.
of people, exactly, and that's their biggest advantage.
Yeah.
They've also released a whole bunch of amazing titles. Like they just decided to drop titles out of nowhere, and they all look pretty sweet.
Yeah, I've put on the headset once, but I haven't tried
Is it
it.
good?
I honestly, well, now like I tried it at the time. I tried it at the SVVR Expo. I don't know if you were there, but it was I think it was about 8 months ago. So at that time, like the HTC Vive wasn't as popular, and we hadn't seen Oculus consumer version with the touch controllers, but it was absolutely insane.
So you didn't
It had the
see
move
anything that
controls?
was great yet.
No. I did. I saw at that level. I saw at that level what didn't exist yet. So it was like the Morpheus at the time was insane. You know what I mean? It was at the level that we've seen the CV1 now. At least I thought it was really
Wow.
Haven't tried it.
So I think it's going to be
They just
pretty
need more
awesome.
content for it. Are there people making stuff for
There's a lot. Oh,
PlayStation
they've
VR
got
around here?
they've got people working on content.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
a ton of people.
Are they doing like multiple platforms like Oculus as well as that, or is it like no, just PlayStation?
It's just
games?
PlayStation. I mean, they
Really?
have the most easy distribution.
Yeah, but I think
Oculus Vive.
the developers are working on different platforms.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
some of them will be exclusively PlayStation titles, but
I just saw Rock Band VR and I like quivered in my boots. I'm like, no, do not show me Rock Band VR. I will be stuck in there for weeks.
That's funny.
Yeah.
When I saw the announcement, I was like, well, so when Oculus announced that they were going to have an announcement, I was like, oh, this is going to be so huge. So I made bets in the office, and then I bet that they were going to launch, you could plug in Oculus to Xbox, and that was just what I thought. I was hopeful. But anyways, ended up losing $5 and was just so disappointed. I was like, Rock Band, you needed 3 days to announce Rock Band, and you got my
Right?
entire office excited, and I lost $5.
Just goes to show the hype that those guys have.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Hype train is going full blast.
they have incredible
Seriously.
branding and marketing.
Oh, incredible. Yeah.
They're doing everything super sleek. But yeah, I mean, it's like the Rock Band is a game that like targets people who are going to buy hardware as a part of the game, and that's what the type of people that like Oculus wants, people who are going to buy additional hardware to play a game. Yeah.
Add-ons. It's always where they want to make their money.
Yeah. There's going to be all these different hardware add-ons.
Show.
It's not just one controller.
All right. Is there anything else you guys want to add or plug in? Anything you're working on?
Sign up
Anything
for
at
All
all?
Things VR.
Yeah, subscribe to All Things VR. Follow them on Twitter. Follow Discover without an E Learning on
Disco
Twitter.
VR, also known as.
At Disco VR.
I hate.
So Discover with no E.
Discover.
DISCOVR.
Disco
That's
VR.
right.
And
Get
that's
it?
where
Like
you guys,
the VR.
Yeah.
Get it.
That
Get
was
it.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's your website?
Discoverlearning.com. Actually, you could go to discoverlabs.com as well.
Discover Labs, Discover Learning. No E on the Discover.
No E. We dropped
And how
that
do we
E.
find
Allthingsvr.co.
.co?
Yeah, so Sophia runs a great newsletter. Y'all should check it out.
Cool. One more thing. If there's anyone out there who wants to get into VR and they want to be a VR entrepreneur, what do they do to get started?
Buy Tony's book.
Yeah, buy Tony Breezy's book. It's called Learning Virtual Reality. You can buy it on Amazon.
There's a mentor here at Rothenberg Ventures who wrote literally a book on virtual reality, and he's a VR OG, so you definitely want to pick that up.
Amazing.
Download one of the game engines if you want to do real-time render. depends on how much money you want to drop and what you want to do. Generally, when people want to go into VR, I mean, there's way more than this, but they either want to do real-time rendering, which is game-like stuff, like computer graphic generated stuff, or VR filmmaking, like 360 video, 360 stereoscopic. So decide which one of those streams you like more, and what it is that you want to do, and then
Come up with a sweet idea.
Yeah, come up with a sweet idea, make it happen. Hit me up.
Do you have another idea for something awesome for VR other than education? Like, do you have a burning desire, like, I could totally do this in VR?
Yes, and my buddy who I want to work on it with might kill me, but I have to say it because it's so cool. And some people think it's dumb, but I think it's awesome. Superheroes VR.
Oh my God, yeah.
Imagine like having ultimate power in a city, like being Magneto and being able to chuck a car at a building or something like that. Like I don't know how someone has not made that yet. Like fighting other superheroes with unlimited powers in virtual reality. Imagine the HTC Vive. Like you can pick stuff up and just like throw it at each other.
Dude, start flying around.
That's the killer app of VR.
That's the
in my
killer
opinion.
VR, yeah.
Like if I could work on anything.
An MMO RPG of superheroes.
Yeah.
Literally my dream to go Super Saiyan. So
Then you can be Super Saiyan, yeah.
add that in your VR.
Or like Street Fighter VR. Like those are
Yeah.
the two things that'd be like, yo.
That'd be fantastic.
How about you, Sophia?
I'm working on it.
You working on it?
Working
Secret?
on it.
Yeah.
Stealth
We'll
mode.
find it.
Stealth
We'll
mode.
find out
Oh,
one
you'll
day.
know about it for sure.
Everyone will know about it. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this talk and want to check out more, go to our website at thinktankcast.com and subscribe with your email so we can send you all of the latest episodes, news, and updates right to your inbox.
Also, on our website, there will be show notes for this episode, some links to the things that we talked about, and more detailed information on our guests. If you want to see the video of this episode, it'll be on our YouTube channel, which is also linked on our website.
And if you want to keep in touch, we're on social media. Check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're at ThinkTankCast on pretty much everything, so you can find us on the web. And all of these details, again, will be linked to our website at thinktankcast.com. Hope to hear from you guys soon.
Amplified pattern recognition.
Why does the universe exist?
Perspective.
We're about 5 Einsteins away from answering.